Assalamu alaikum, hello everyone, and welcome to something new here on the Milky Sierra YouTube channel. Today we're playing ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, or if you're Italian like me and you want to break out into that full Italian spirit, Assetto Corsa Competizione. Okay, a little bit over the top, a little bit like how this series is going to be. The main aim of this is just to run through the career mode on ACC, see what it's all about, see how fun it is to drive. Now, I'm going to be running on the highest difficulty, which is 100 difficulty on ACC. I have played a fair bit of ACC in the past. I'm not going to pretend like I'm esports level or anything like that, but I'm relatively decent at the game. We're going to be running with the setups that the game gives you, so you aggressive preset setup. I'm not going to be running with any of the custom setups, just to keep it fair and make it in such a way that any viewers who watch it can essentially race in the exact same way that I'm driving on the game, because I think that makes for a better viewer experience. The game does give us random cars. Usually I race in the Ferrari 488 or the McLaren 720S, so those are the two cars I'm comfortable with. But with the way career mode works, I think it gives us something a bit different. Now, I've got a couple of options here, and I can decide between a medium or a long duration, and I don't know how long is, and considering this is ACC, it is an endurance championship, I don't want to be thrown into some 2-hour long endurance races, so we're going to go with medium. Also, the way I'm going to practice for these races is, while I have played this game before, while I do know some of the circuits, I will only be practicing for the races with whatever car it gives me through the career mode. So if we're going to Bathurst, I will just practice using the practice session it gives me. If I don't get up to pace, I don't get up to pace. I won't be going off the career mode to do some practice in time trial, or going on to multiplayer and doing online lobbies at Bathurst in whatever car I have. I'm going to try to make this as realistic as possible. So with that said and done, let's jump in to the career.
Hi there, I'm Mirko Bortolotti, Lamborghini factory driver and 2017 Blancpain GT Series champion. Welcome to the career mode of Assetto Corsa Competizione, the official video game of the Blancpain GT Series. You have been granted the access to the Lamborghini Youngster program at the legendary Temple of Speed of Monza, and you will be driving a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. This monster is not a plug-and-play experience, so we first need to verify if you really got what it takes for GT racing. You will be asked to perform some simple and very basic tests, like driving the car out of the pit lane, avoiding collisions with other drivers, staying within the track limits, and bring the car back in one piece. Our race engineers will need to check your radio systems, tire temperatures and brakes, so be careful and remember, racing never starts from being fast, but from being safe and disciplined. After the first installation tests, the team will ask you to prove your skills with performance-focused tests. Be focused, don't overdrive, merge yourself with the car and do your best. The results will affect how good you will start your career, so that maybe some of the best teams will offer you a drive in the next Sprint Cup season. See you on track and good luck.
Well, that was a pretty fun introduction into ACC. So essentially, if that didn't make any sense to you guys, the way this works is we essentially have to do some laps, and it's just proving that we know how to drive around the circuit. If you have played ACC before, it's essentially like getting a silver rating or whatever in terms of safety. So yeah, let's get on with this.
Green light, show them what you got. Welcome to the Lamborghini Youngster program. Today, you are given a seat in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Our team will look at your best lap on track in dry conditions. Complete at least 2 safe and valid laps and then start pushing. Good luck.
Okay, so with that, we are away. Now, what I'm gonna do for the majority of this championship is I'm going to actually run this in a I'm going to do live commentary essentially, but because this is just getting to grips with the game, getting to grips with how everything works, I'm going to do live commentary for this. Sorry, I'm going to do post-race commentary for the majority of races, but I figured that considering how this is set up, we can we can have a little bit more fun. So I like to have the traction control a little bit lower down at 2. ABS doesn't have to be that high for me as well. And we can just get used to how this Lamborghini performs. Now, that was a bit of a moment of the rear end setting out, so we'll just knock the traction control up. Now, I do know the Monza circuit relatively well, particularly on this game as well. I've done a lot of laps, a lot of online races here, so this shouldn't be too difficult, and it gives me an opportunity to run through things with you. I'm going to be honest, this first episode is probably just going to be understanding the game, getting into the grips of things. So if you want to see when this actually gets really spicy, when we get into, you know, all of the racing action itself, jump on over to episode 2 of the career mode, because that's when we're going to have some proper racing going on. But for now, we're just going to chill on circuit. I'm just going to run through how this game really feels. So if you are completely new to ACC, this might give you a good idea of whether you want to buy this game or not, whether you want to race it, how you should race it, the differences between ACC and some of the other popular racing games, at least for GT racing cars. So as we do start our first lap here at Monza, one of the big things that I find with ACC is I do find it very realistic. We're going to be braking at about 170 meters down into turn 1, just as we get used to things very early, just making sure we don't make any mistakes. So going back to what I was saying, I do really like ACC. It feels more realistic than some of the other games like iRacing, rFactor 2, and that's not to take anything away from those games, but ACC does have a very nice feel to it, and that's particularly when I get into braking zones and it's just carrying corner speed. When I'm on the likes of iRacing and rFactor 2, it doesn't feel natural, if that makes sense. It feels artificial with how much you've got to throw the car in, whereas ACC, it feels very correct. Like when I make a mistake and when I have a little slide, I feel like I'm losing the right amount of time. And I was lucky enough a couple of years ago I went to this competition in the UK. It's called Want to Race, and you essentially get to race or drive in Ginetta GT4, GT5 cars, and essentially if you do well, you get a fully funded seat in the Ginetta Championship. Now I didn't do well, but I got to drive a GT car, so it was a lot of fun, but it gave me a feeling of what a real racing car feels like, and ACC behaves more similarly to that than any of the others that I've driven with. So the main thing that I think I myself lack on this game is just finding the mid-corner speed. I just don't have that bravery to carry the same amount of mid-corner speed as, you know, the eSport drivers do. Now we've managed to get a good run on one of the other young testers, so we're going to put him to shame. We get that move done relatively cleanly. Now good laps here at Monza, you're looking at about 1:49, but we don't have a setup or anything like that. We're going to brake a bit later than usual. Oh, get it turned in. I've got a little bit quiet as I try to get it right. Turn 1 is, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to find a whole bunch of time, just by getting the braking zone right and all of that stuff. But yeah, ACC is really fun. It's the most fun game, most fun sim racing game that I've played. To be fair, the F1 games are relatively fun if you have traction control on. When you turn off traction control, it just becomes so sweaty. So F1 is an enjoyable game. It's not a good game, but it is a lot of fun. Same with the likes of Project Cars. You can have so much fun. There are so many different tracks in that game, so many different cars as well. So when I want to have fun with friends, Project Cars 2 is usually a good go-to, just because it doesn't feel as serious as something like ACC or iRacing is. If anyone's also curious what my sim setup is, I run with a Fanatec V2.5 wheel. I've got V3 pedals, and I'm using the CSL direct drive. It's the Fanatec entry level direct drive wheel. All back end, having a little bit of a moment, but we keep it in check. I haven't been able to set a difficulty level, so I'm gonna guess that based on my lap times, the game is going to essentially recommend a difficulty level to me. So hopefully it'll be around 100, as we completely miss our turning point for the Parabolica. But yeah, I used to use a Logitech G29 setup, which was actually rather nice. It was pretty comfortable, but it was just a pain. You were never getting that, you know, that quality feel of how a car should handle, and with the Fanatec you do a lot more. So once I got this Fanatec, it just felt so much nicer, so much better, and you actually get real force feedback, whereas with the G29 it feels like you don't have force feedback on the wheel, you just have random resistance, and the pedals there's no resistance. Here with these pedals, the V3 pedals, you really have to stamp on them sometimes to get the car slowed down properly, as we brake too early, so we have to lift off the brakes so that we don't clatter into the sausage curb. As you may be able to see, I'm not driving particularly quickly, and the main reason for that is, well, I'm talking for one, and the other part is I don't want to bottle it, because I think that's the whole purpose of this entry into the career mode, which is just, you know, get things done. As I mentioned though before, once we get into the main part of the championship, the actual races, I'll start cutting the videos down, I'll start doing it more as highlights. So it's a bit more exciting, but I figured that with the first video, it should just be a bit more, you know, you just get to experience how this whole thing is. I could probably come into the pits now, but I might as well run to the end of free practice, and if we then have qualifying and a race after, then I'll probably cut those down into the actual length. So why don't we talk through a hot lap here at Monza. We are making our way out of the Parabolica now to start a new lap. Bit of a moment with the rear end. One of the disadvantages actually of me using this view is the fact that you can't see my steering inputs at all. So I'm making quite a few corrections every now and then, but you can't actually see any. And if I do use it, it just looks a bit weird sometimes. So we're going to brake out 150, hard on the brakes. Get it turned in, get the apex, and make sure we get the apex to turn 2 on the power nice and early. We probably could have taken the second part of the Rectificio chicane a little bit better. Now, through Turno Grande, nice and tight all the way through, completely flat. Up into 6 we go, hold it nice and tight. Now we're going to be braking at 150. We could have actually braked a little bit later, but get off the brakes, ease on the throttle through here, use up all of the track on corner exit. We gained a little bit of time and then we dropped it. Third gear then into Lesmo 1, turn in nice and early. That is one thing I will mention with this game, you do need to turn in early for corners. Down into Lesmo 2. I don't know if it's actually better to take the raised curve on the apex or not. I think third gear is better than second, but different cars behave differently, so I haven't actually tried second in this car. Maybe the Lamborghini prefers second gear through there. Under the bridge, after you go through the bridge, brake. We should have braked a little bit earlier actually. We end up missing our braking point on the power. We skim over the curve. That was actually running wide, so that would have been a track limit ordinarily, but the game didn't give it to us, so I'm not going to complain. We brake too late. You want to be braking right as you go under that that little flag that comes over the circuit. But we don't. So we should have got a 55.
Session is now over.
There we go. So that's the practice done. The first session on this game mode. Okay, so let's just do this. I don't really need any of the assists, so this is perfectly fine for me. Yeah. Lamborghini Youngster Program Test 2. We're going to go into the light rain. Okay, I don't know how this is going to feel. Okay, so we are on 100. Perfect. That's what we like to see. Tire sets limited. Fine. Okay, let's go. Right, so I'm just going to go into this right away and say there isn't a single sim out there that does wet weather properly. Every single wet weather feels iffy. It's essentially just driving in the dry but with less grip, which isn't what wet weather driving is. Yes, there is less grip, but you can be a lot more unique with your racing lines, whereas on sims you can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to go onto our wet setup. We're going to select that. So now your setup selected, and then we wait for it to, I don't know, make the adjustments to the car, and then we can head out. So again, we've got 10 minutes. Once this is done,
just focus on setting your best lap in this heavy rain and bring the car back in one piece.
okay. So once we're done with this, we will we'll bring this particular video to a close. We'll bring episode 1 to a close, and then episode 2, I'm gonna guess that's when we're going to get our first races. But for now, it's just about figuring out the track conditions. Now, I don't actually know what this car is supposed to feel like in the wet, so oh my god. Right, ABS is on 7, traction control is on 7. There are some cars where you actually get to see when your brakes are locking up, like it lights up in certain places, so you know if it's, for example, your fronts that are locking instead of your rears, etc. So we're going to brake at 150 anyway. So it seems that the braking point down into the Roger chicane is exactly the same as where it is in the dry. Bit more understeer through Lesmo 1. Now I do have wiper stuff, right? Okay, it seems that the wipers and the headlights are on automatic right now. We're going to brake just before the bridge because it is wet. And I don't want to risk things on an outlap in the wet conditions. Easy on the power. Again, you want to take that curve on the exit of the Scari. It doesn't settle the car a little bit, but it is the faster way round in general. Now, I think we have enough brake bias, so I'm going to turn the brake bias down. I actually can't adjust the engine map on this, okay. Because usually you have like a wet weather engine map, but maybe the Lamborghini Huracan doesn't have that. Or maybe it's actually just locked for this career mode test thing. They're essentially saying, oh, you're a young driver, we're not going to let you change the engine map, we deal with that, you can just adjust the traction control in ABS. Which I guess would be reasonable for a young driver test. Right, let's see what we can do then. So turn 1, we're going to brake at about 160. Nice and easy into turn 1. And you can see just how much wheel spin there is on corner exit. So I'm going to turn the traction control down because it is kicking in way too much. I'm going to turn the ABS down to 5 as well, just so I can feel how raw the car wants to be and then decide what changes I want to make from there. Again, 150 down into the Roger chicane. So the traction control didn't kick in as much that time round. Early on the brakes down into the Lesmo. Well, rear end did want to step out a bit, so I had to make a couple of corrections. Oh, a bit of understeer. One thing that I do find with ACC is that you do want to turn in pretty early for corners. So it's more like a game where F1 where you kind of take what feels like the normal racing line. I feel like on ACC you've got to turn in quite early so that the car actually gets turned in, and then once you've got that rotation on the car, then you can, you know, get the rest of the car turned in. As I really struggle all the way through a Scari. That's what happens when you turn the traction control down a bit, I guess. But we keep it pointed in the right direction, so that's all okay. So even here, you want to turn in early. Once it's turned in, then you can really start getting the power on. Little snap of oversteer corrected. I mean, we're less than 10 seconds off our dry time, so that's not too bad. But let's push. I think there's another second or two in the lap. Let's brake a little bit late for this corner. Eight tenths. So we braked a little bit later, we turned in earlier, we got the car stopped on the apex of turn 1, and then we just got it through turn 2. It kind of launched ourselves through turn 2 as well. Right, let's see what we can do here. We're going to try to brake a little bit later, just really push the limits of the car a bit more. It was okay, but then we lost time on corner exit. This is where I have been struggling in the wet so far. Ooh, that rear end really wanted to come out when I got onto the paint. Again, when my right tyre got onto the white paint, I just felt the rear end really wanting to snap out on me. Right, I think I did drop a lot of time through Ascari, so again, we're going to go under the bridge, brake once we get under the bridge, third gear, turn in, get up onto that curb, ease on the power, and then you want to hold it tight. Ah, we don't quite hold it tight enough. I don't know if I want to be in second for the first part of Ascari. Okay, so it seems that this is the level that 100 AI will have. So we're within 6 tenths. I think we've got the pace to be able to close into that. So let's try to focus and beat these guys. It could have been worse. I'm going to turn the traction control down. That rear end, I just wasn't picking up any power, any speed on corner exit because the traction control was kicking in like a lunatic. Okay, that's pretty good. Take that. Right, let's brake a little bit earlier for Lesmo 2 so that we can actually get it turned in, get the apex. And we gained a little bit of time on corner exit as well, so this is a good lap. As long as we can get Ascari right, I'm fairly confident in my consistency that I'll be able to take the parabolic the same as before. We're going to be a little bit greedy though. We're going to go down into second gear this time. Ooh, that rear end wanted to step out. Oh, it was worth the risk though, worth the risk. We managed to keep the car kind of seated on the inside of part 2 of Ascari, so we got a really good run coming out of it as well. Get it turned in. Ease on the power. There we go. Still another 3 tenths to go. I mean, to be fair though, you can tell that we're on the right kind of difficulty, right? We're only 3 tenths off pole. Oh, look how much time we gained. Oh, we really got turn 1 right this time. Now, can we get the rest of the lap right? We beat these guys handily in the dry, so if we were to lose now in the wet, Oh, that would feel like a massive blow. Lost a bit of time on exit, didn't quite get the power down at the right point. Third gear, let's get it turned in. And then get on the power as we open up the car. I go silent every time I'm mid-corner because I'm just trying to work out when do I want to squeeze the power on and how much do I want to put the power on as well. Because I am squeezing the power on. You can see on the bottom right corner just how much throttle I'm putting in, and I'm being very ginger with it at times. Oh, we gained a lot of time onto the entry here. I haven't looked at the delta yet, but it's going to be good. Okay, maybe it wasn't that good, but either way, we'll take that. The others are improving as well. Come on, we need to get parabolic right. Come on. Nice and late onto the brakes. Get it turned in. Ease on the power. Come on, come on, come on. We're flat. We're flat. Let's keep it tight. I think that's it. I think we're gonna win it. Ho ho!
Session is done.
That's what we like to see. We did it by just under 2/10 as well. 7/10 separating all 6 of us. I tell you what. This is a good young driver test so far. There have been some really quick drivers out there. So it was sector 1 that we gained all the time. So we really nailed that first chicane, which it felt really good. What else? Sector 2 we dropped a couple of tenths. Sector 3 another couple of tenths as well. So there was definitely a 201. I think Ascari had a bit more time in it. I felt like I got a really good entry, but yeah, I must have just dropped a bit of time somewhere. Right, so let's continue career and see what awaits us, really. Oh, okay, so we've got another test. Yet another test. So I'm going to keep on talking through this, but I might just skip through it and get to the end and see what happens. So I might go silent for a bit, but I'm going to cut the video to the end of this test session because this is just a night test, so there's nothing too special here, and I've already spoken about most of the game. Okay, everyone, so this is my final lap of this practice session. I haven't been able to improve on my personal best, which is, it was a pretty good time of a 54.7. And I got fairly close this lap, but a couple of mistakes has cost me. I lost 2/10 in the first corner, so there was more time, but oh well, I couldn't find it. So we'll take that. 54.7. It's only a silver, which is annoying because I think there was a goal that, as I mentioned, there was at least 2/10 in my lap, but I just couldn't find it. Our first sector seemingly very good. And the final sector on par with everyone else because it's just, I don't know if the final sector starts before or after Ascari, so there aren't many corners in it, but there we go. That's that session done. Now I think that should be hopefully the final part of the young driver test. Hopefully, let's see. There we go. Right, so congratulations for your performance. Congratulations for your performance on track during the preliminary tests. The talent is clearly there, but you still need more race results in order to attract last year's top teams. In any case, some of the teams are making a seat available for you in this year's Sprint Cup season, so choose your favourite car from the available models to show them what you got. So we got a silver in the Youngster program. So let's take a look at the different cars that we can select. We've got the Jaguar G3. We've got the Honda NSX, we've got the McLaren 650S, the Mercedes GT3, Nissan GTR, are they the same year? Oh, 2015, 2018. We've got the Porsche 991. We've got the Reiter Engineering REX. I don't know what this is. I think this is it looks a bit like a McLaren. We've got the Aston Martin Vantage. We've got the Continentals, so the Bentleys. And then we go back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this episode here, and I'm going to let you guys select the car. But I'm going to give some options. If you really want me to use a different car, I will. I personally think I would pick from the McLaren 650S because I know the McLaren car. I also think the Porsche is a very good car, so the 991 is a really good option. So is the Aston Martin and probably the 2018 Bentley as well. The Mercedes would also be up there. So yeah, I'll leave this episode here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and let me know what car you would like me to pick, and that's the one that I will pick up for myself in the next episode. So, you guys all next time. Assalamu alaikum.